So what I was excited about it is just the fact it's right behind our office, and we've done a number of buildings within the neighborhood, and so it's really always a pleasure to develop that neighborhood and to see the projects take shape, walking distance from our office. It's really a pleasure. One opportunity we found in the zoning for the city of Sarasota is that the height of the building is not measured in feet. The height of the building is measured in stories. And the stories, each story has a maximum of 14-foot ceiling height. And so we took advantage of that to make sure that every unit would have ample ceiling height within their living room. Sometimes it's a 14-foot high space, sometimes it's a 2-story space. There were definitely outstanding architects locally in the 50s and 60s, but they were really working on single-family houses. I think in general, in the US, we lost a little bit how to do quality housing projects. And so our influences are beyond the US. I'm from Belgium. I often go back to Belgium, to the Netherlands, to France. And so it's those projects that have influenced us more certainly in terms of the housing projects. One architect in particular that I've looked at is, of course, Le Corbusier, which is a French architect who was really one of the first to think about how you could do a 2-story space within a tower and how those units could lock into one another to provide rooms with ample ceiling height. So if somebody gives up having a garden space, they could still move downtown and have a volume and have space within their own unit. So those are two very different questions. For me, what I want is for a resident to be able to come out of his or her unit and reach the sidewalk easily without going through a shared lobby, without going through a space that's, well, to keep them connected, to the city and to the sidewalk. And so what we did is that we set up a series of exterior stairs that goes all the way up, the full height of the building. And this allows for every unit to have an easy access to go to local restaurants and so forth. And so I think that it breaks down also the scale of the building because you have the rhythm of those exterior stairs. It's definitely not something you could do in other states, further north. But here, with the weather that we have, it's so pleasant to be able to be connected to outdoor space very easily. You also can't do that on buildings higher, where there's requirements to enclose and so forth. I think for this type of projects with that height, it's the perfect scale to be able to bring you outside quickly. And if somebody is moving to the Rosemary District, it's to enjoy the restaurants, it's to enjoy going to the opera close by, the theaters and so forth, and be able to just walk directly from their unit out. I think another aspect also is there's a number of units that have a access directly to the sidewalk with a little stoop and so forth, and that also brings a neighborhood type scale to the project. So the mix of home types gives the potential buyers a wide variety of choices. One of the unit is a garden unit, so somebody might want to have direct access to the sidewalk through a stoop, go through a space that could be used as a home office, have a guest suite on the lower level, come up half a level and get to a garden. And if somebody has a dog, or they really enjoy being in the sun outside and so forth and make use of that courtyard, that's one of the choices. Another choice is a 2-story unit where you enter from the 4th floor and you walk down to the living room and have a 2-story space with a large balcony opening up towards the street. That's a very different unit type. That one also has views both to the south and the north. And then there's also the penthouse. Penthouse is laid out all on one level with 14-foot ceiling with an enormous terrace facing towards downtown. So all of those are really unique unit types that for me, I would have a hard time choosing which one I would want to live in. They're completely different. There's also luxury 1-bedroom units that are smaller, but provide all of the amenities and a pied-à-terre to be downtown and direct access to everything that downtown has to offer. We also have some units that have rooftop terraces. So we have 6 really unique unit types, and we even built 6 unique models to show, to really express how those 6 units are working with one another and provide different living arrangements. Yeah, that's a great question. I think that a lot of projects, when they have a site that's 105 feet wide in the city, a developer will decide, I'm going to build from property line to property line. What we did in here is to create a courtyard in the center, and that brings a lot of light inside of the projects. When I'm looking around at other units on the market, you have units that are so deep that they have bedrooms without windows, or other spaces without windows, beyond the bathrooms and walk-in closets and so forth. And to me, if you're moving to this type of climate, to this type of weather, to have rooms with no windows, it just makes no sense. The only use you could have of that is to have it as a storage. So what we really push to do here is to make sure that every single room has a window access to light. What's also really nice is that a number of the units, as I'm thinking about it, I think all of them have access to at least two orientation. So you might get sun at one time of the day from one side, sun at one time of the day at another side. Many of the units have access to balconies on both sides of it. So you might have a balcony in the shade, a balcony in the sun, depending on the time of the day. I mean, to be frank, I don't take risks. This building is going to be there for the long term. So everything that we do it with a great deal of care. We start the design with 3D modeling, so we can really look at every space and understand how it works. I think the design is bold and clear, but how it works out is something that is really thoughtful, and I'm not going to put out the building that I'm risking something on it. I think resilience is having a smaller carbon footprint for every resident. And so you have 60 residents who can walk from their unit, have a variety of choices of restaurants just a couple of blocks away, have a variety of choices for yoga studios, gyms, and so forth, without ever needing to get into a car. So I think that in itself, creates a healthy living, which is, in turn, a form of resilience also. Resilience in terms of the residents themselves. Now, in terms of the resilience of the building itself, the structure, and you can see it now in terms of how it is under construction, it's all concrete. Every horizontal, vertical surface is concrete. So a resident is separated from its neighbor with a concrete slab, concrete walls, but also separated from a potential storm with hurricane windows, concrete walls. It is a structure that is built to stay. One advantage also of the Rosemary District is that it's quite high. So the neighborhood itself is out of the floodplain. So we're out of the floodplain, and we have a building that is built to resist the hurricanes. And one could be in there and enjoy the storm outside. I think that there might be a conception of an assumption that an architect looks at a building from outside, what it looks like as somebody walks by and so forth. For me, architecture is about a certain dose of empathy, of understanding how somebody would feel within the space, how somebody would meet their neighbors, how do you walk up to your unit. And so I think a good piece of architecture, you have to think of it from the perspective of the residents, and how you walk through, how you access the space, how you open up the space to different times of the season, times of the year. Yeah, to me, the team is about the architect, the developer, the sales team, and the contractor. And sometimes it can be really frustrating when you pour your heart into a design and it's not built correctly, or you pour your heart into a design just to come to a point where you have to really try to defend the project and save it from VE and so forth. This has not been the case at all. It's an outstanding contractor. It's who's working with outstanding subcontractor who are fast and efficient, but it's quality of work. What has been fun also is that we received feedback from the sales team that has made the project better. I can give an example of that for the garden unit. One feedback we got is that, in the end, this is going to be a couple living in there, and they really need more ample master suite. And so we combine 2 rooms into a giant suite that has plenty of storage, high quality bathroom space, and then we created a guest suite on a different level. And I think that feedback, improved the quality of the project. What's remarkable to me is that as we're, proceeding on the project, we're getting comments from the owner to say, we want to put pavers in the parking. Things that we didn't even dare to put in the building ourselves. We want to change all of the railing to glass rails. It's like they are adding to the quality of the project, and that is really rare. So in this case, every aspect, every team member has contributed to improve upon the project. So I do walk by it a lot because it's right behind our office, and I have an office dog, so I walk around the building at a slow pace with my golden retriever. I don't know why I'm mentioning that. So I walk around the building with my dog at a slow pace, at his pace, and what has surprised me is more the view from the street, because that hasn't been so much the focus for our design. We always think of the project from the inside out, how do you live in it and so forth. But it's quite dramatic seeing it take place, seeing it take shape, from the street. The cantilevers of the balcony, now the form of the penthouse, coming out. I think the contrast of that building to any other building in town, because we have so many of these overscale balconies, it creates a facade that is like none others. And the overscale balconies is really because if somebody's living up on a 3rd, 4th, 5th floor, to be able to just walk outside, not just to stand there at the balcony, but to have furniture there, to have a room that extends their space to the outdoors, so that a unit, no matter the size, feels a lot bigger. And we're in Florida, the weather is nice most of the time. All of these balconies are shaded with large overhang also. So those are definitely going to be spaces that they use. But the impact of that from the street, to me, that has been a nice surprise. I think in 20 years, I'm hoping that the residents who are in it talk about the pleasure of living there. And talk about how they were able to meet their neighbors, and how the community of residents within the gallery is something that they've enjoyed. And that's really the goal. So I'm less concerned about what somebody might say walking by the building, except I want to live there, than the people who are within it, the residents, that they really enjoy the space, and that it has an impact on their lives and their appreciation of living in Sarasota and so forth.